Animal testing has been practiced since the early days of Aristotle and Plato. It started out as a way to test new surgical tactics on pigs, but has sadly grown into an industry that tests on millions of animals every year. Today, it is estimated that in the United States, some 13 million animals are used for product testing every year. The question is why? Why are humans putting animals through cruel and inhumane tests every single day? There are two answers to this question. One is for medical purposes, and the other purpose is for cosmetic testing. But isn't this the 21st century? Don't we have technology to solve pretty much anything? Why are we still being barbaric by testing on innocent creatures? Animal testing is an out-of-date practice. With today's new technology, it is no longer necessary and therefore needs to be stopped immediately. The lives of millions of animals depends on this. Scientists need to put down their scalpels and embrace the alternatives to animal testing. These alternatives include in vitro, computerized patients, computer modules, and simulations. Now you may be listening to all these technical scientific terms and wonder to yourself, what does it have to do with me? Well, if you have used soap, makeup, or even deodorant today, this has everything to do with you. When companies create products like these, what do you think they do when they need to test if a new chemical is safe for human use? That's right, they test these chemicals on animals. Some people think that it is stated by law that new products be tested on animals before they are released to the public. But this is not the case. The FDA does not allow the sale of unsafe cosmetics, but it does not say that to prove these cosmetics are safe, they need to be tested on animals first. Companies can avoid using animal testing by using ingredients that have already been proven safe. By using ingredients that have already been proven safe, companies can avoid participating in tests like the LD50 test. In this test, animals, most commonly bunnies, are forced to ingest chemicals through stomach tubes, vapor sprays, inhalers, or injection until half of them die. The point of this test is to gauge the amount of substances it will take to kill the animal. Common reactions to LD tests include convulsions, vomiting, paralysis, and bleeding from the eyes, nose, or mouth. During this test, it is reported that many animals break their backs or necks as a result from trying to free themselves from their restraints. This test is just one of many that involve inflicting pain and torment on innocent animals. And for what? A bar of soap or a tube of mascara? Are the lives of thousands of animals really worth all these mundane objects? People and organizations like the ASPCA and PETA are saying no. Organizations like these that strive to protect the rights of animals are protesting the use of animals in testing and spending millions of dollars in funding alternatives. Like I have previously mentioned, there are many alternatives that have the power to replace animal testing. More precisely, there are 12 approved alternatives being used today. These alternatives are more cost-efficient, they take less time than the conventional methods, and they are more accurate. Scientists claim results from an alternative method yield results that are 90–95% accurate. Along with the alternatives being more accurate, scientists are now arguing that the use of animals is invalid altogether because animals and humans react differently to different substances. Street and Irby argue that the Food and Drug Administration tells us that 92% of drugs tested safe and effective in animals fail in human trials. Alternatives are not only found in the world of cosmetic testing, but also in the medical and scientific testing. Medical experimentation on animals goes back hundreds of years to when scientists would dissect other mammals to learn more about our human anatomy. The first widely reported case of testing on animals was in the early 1800s when Louis Pasteur infected a sheep with anthrax. Today, the tests run by scientists in the medical field are far more advanced than infecting a single animal. There are countless tests that are performed every day to these animals. One of these tests is the eye irritancy test. In this test, chemicals are placed into one of the eyes and is left there for up to 14 days. These chemicals can cause redness, sores, and even blindness. Like the eye irritation test, there is also a skin irritation test that looks at if the substance being tested has potential to cause irreversible damage to the skin. In this test, the infected area becomes red, swollen, and may severely burn the animal. Tests are also performed on the skin to test the animal's likeliness of having an allergic reaction to the substance. However, like I have previously stated, these tests cannot be proven accurate because animal skin is structurally and anatomically different than human skin, meaning that the animals will have different reactions. This means that the animals who are brutally tortured and eventually killed once the experiment is done have served no purpose. Even though it is proven that testing on animals can be inaccurate, there are still people that stand firm behind the belief that testing on animals is the only way to ensure new drugs and chemicals are safe for human use. People who support this idea claim that we would not have the medical advances we have today if it were not for testing on animals first. Some of these advances in the medical world include cancer and HIV drugs, insulin, antibiotics, and vaccines. A recent UCL study that used mice in a clinical study of breast cancer led to the discovery of the breast cancer medication Herceptin. Herceptin is the first cancer-fighting drug to successfully target a specific gene alteration. Along with the advances in new medical technology, people who support the field testing of animals also cite instances where new drugs were not tested on animals first and had dire consequences. An example of this would be elixir sulfonylurea, which in 1937 killed over 100 people before it was pulled off the market. But like I have stated multiple times, there are now ways to ensure products are safe without torturing and murdering helpless animals. These alternatives are quickly becoming accepted into the scientific community. For example, pregnancy tests used to involve the lab killing a rabbit. Now women can buy an over-the-counter test and no animals are harmed in the process. Computer modules are also becoming a widely used alternative. Computer modeling can be used mainly as an alternative to dissection. Many high schools and even some medical schools are using dissection programs in the classroom instead of dissecting an actual animal. By doing this, millions of animals are saved each and every year. Animal testing in America and all over the world is an out-of-date system that involves taking the lives of millions of innocent animals. People need to take action and stand up for these innocent animals that do not have a voice of their own. Science needs to embrace the alternatives and set the animals free, before soon there are no animals at all.